What's up, Raider Nation? I wanted to look at some numbers now that we're mid-season for 2018. So far, it's been pretty bad. So I wanted to compare all of the AFC West and our opponents and just get an idea of how they're looking and what we should probably expect for the rest of the year. We know enough of them, I think, at this point to figure out where the rest of the year is going to go, as opposed to like a prediction before the season. So, thanks for tuning in. I figured these would be good to reference here and again because I have all the numbers here for you, and I will update them every week. I'm also going to do a comparison of the whole AFC West. That way we kind of get an idea of everything going on in the division, since the Raiders are a little boring to watch. So check it out. 8 games in, Carr's at about 2,200. He's never hit 4K, so he's on pace. Up here, it was closer to about 5K, and things were looking good, even though this was looking bad. So there was hope, but since these games happened and losing Coop and everything, I'm sure that's going to go down. So we should hit 4K, which is decent for Carr anyway, because he's never hit that. Looking at touchdowns, this really needs to improve. We have a bunch of zeros in here and ones, and we just can't have that, especially when you look at the interceptions. Not a good ratio, definitely. Anybody can see that. Great completion percentage, though. I'll throw in here real quick. I'm getting all these from, Pro Football Reference whenever I fill this out, and I'll fill it out each week for you. Carr's at about 74%, which is just ridiculous. If you look at Mahomes, he's at almost 67. Phillip Rivers is same thing, almost 67, and the Broncos are at 63. So everybody's in the 60s there, but we got our shining star here at 74. It doesn't say much though when you have 8 interceptions compared to 10 touchdowns. So he's keeping it safe, he's accurate, and then a lot of them have been in the end zone, really. Moving forward, we have Lynch. So far through the year, through our bar, he had 376 yards, plus 84 receiving. So he hit about 460 and 3 touchdowns. I replaced him with Martin just to see how he's going to be going forward. So I have weeks 1 through 7. He was a little involved in the offense, so he had some yardage, and then he really took over for us against the Colts and the Niners and didn't do much. No touchdowns to his name yet this season, and this is what we're looking at from him. Comparing to Lynch, it's going to be one of those years for our running backs. Looking at Coop, obviously he didn't have much, and he's gone now. He had 280 yards for us. This is his career yards plus that 280. Taking it down to 31.83, and he had 19 touchdowns total. So, these were looking okay. And, let's talk about Coop now. So, in the game, he just started against the Titans for the Cowboys, his first game. And he looked like the same old Cooper, man. He's great route running. His feet are A+. It's his hands. And, maybe his confidence. But he looked like he, fit in right away. He had 5 receptions for 58 yards and 1 touchdown. And he looked okay. There was one in the end zone that was a little bit over him. He was close to getting that second one. And to be honest, I just want him to thrive there. He didn't do anything for us, but, sometimes it happens. Maybe he'll do better there. Wishing the best for Cooper. He was kind of a letdown for us in the end, so everybody has their own opinion, but I think the overlying opinion is we'll be okay without Amari Cooper. Replacing him, or at least on the other side of him, is Jordy Nelson, and he hasn't picked up much volume since Coop left at all, and that's been most of his year. I suspect he'll probably have another breakout game in here somewhere, and he's been middle of the pack after all the hype that Jordy Nelson brought and Michael Bennett, our receivers coach, and just everything that we've been hearing. Not as as good as it could be. Lastly, looking at Jared Cook, he's been solid, basically our only option. I guess Carr feels good with him. He's tall. He catches some balls and A couple of those interceptions have been to him in the end zone, but we'll keep targeting him. This will improve, I think. Almost at 500 yards, so we're on pace to have a 1,000-yard tight end, which I'm not sure the last time that happened, so that's cool. Nelson, let's see, he's on pace for 700? Let's say he has a couple of better games in here. We got, some low yardage in here for sure. So let's say he hits like 800. Especially with Cooper leaving, hopefully that production goes up a little bit, and these touchdowns do too. I'm not going to replace Cooper with Brandon LaFell or Roberts or Martavis Bryant or anything like that, because I don't think it's worth my time or your time to show you their 300 yards that they'll have. So that's that. Martin, for the rest of this, man, I'm pretty sure he's going to hit like 600 yards on the season. If he surpasses that, then I'd be happy, because we need something out of it, and putting them together, that would have made about 1,000-yard rusher. So we're hoping for about 600 yards from Doug Martin, and I think that he can do that. Lastly, we're looking at Derek Carr, and he has 2,200 yards. I think he's on pace for that 4,000, and I think that he'll make it. Let's look at the rest of the season. We're 1-7 right now. I think that we have 2 wins left in us for the remainder of the year. We have the Cardinals, and then I do think that we can beat the Broncos here in week 16. This one here, if you remember, we lost to them 19-20, and that's because of the missed point after touchdown from our kicker. So I really don't think we should have lost that. So I think we have 2 more wins in us if we even want those wins. At this point, we do have the number 1 pick in the draft. On top of the Cowboys is probably top 10 pick, because they just lost. I think they're 3-5 now. And then we have the Bears, probably like a low 20s pick somewhere in there. So looking good so far. I do think we can probably beat the Cardinals and the Bengals, so that'll take us to 3-13 on the rest of the season. In another video, I'll kind of do a prediction for the rest of the AFC West. Because we have some fascinating stuff, especially when you look at Mahomes' yards and his 8 straight 300-yard games in their record. And this 31-yard touchdown is ridiculous. We'll talk about that another time. But looking at everybody, we're keeping up in the division. Everyone's sort of on pace except for Pat Mahomes. He's a legend. Aside from that, that's the Cooper recap. That's what we're probably expecting for the rest of the season. The last thing I wanted to look at is the Las Vegas Stadium cam. I think it's good to check on that once in a while, and it's improving. We have some vertical growth going on over here. Let's go back to view 1. See, so it's getting vertical, and we'll check up on this here and there just to see how it's going. I'm really excited for when it's getting closer to being done. You can actually see the shape and all of our cool markings and the glass and everything. So it'll be great to see how this goes over the next year. So that's our quick update. I wanted to check into what the midway point of the season is. And at this point, again, we can pretty much expect the same in these next 8 straight games. Looking a little deeper into that, we have the Chiefs twice, Bengals, Ravens, Steelers. So some tough games for sure. Probably the toughest next stint that we have to travel besides the Cardinals here, and that's in their turf, so we'll see how that goes. But thanks for tuning in. That's our update. I wanted to sort of predict what we'll be looking at for the rest of the season, and in another video I'll be checking out the rest of the AFC West. That way we can predict how the rest of those seasons will go, and those are a little bit more exciting because we have some wins in those columns there.